Salut! Je m'appelle Charles Bonnet, and I am a naturalist and a philosopher. I come to you today from the pages of Time Forgotten, in order to recount the fascinating tale of the syndrome that now bears my own name. It is a story that brings together the science of the brain and study of the mind in a way so crucial for the complete understanding of our species. Might I introduce you, for your intellectual curiosity, the story of my grandfather, Charles Lelin. Monsieur Lelin is a former magistrate in the local court, now highly resigned to his estate in Geneva. By anyone's account, he expresses the clarity of mind and analytical prowess of a man half his age, which has now reached nearly to his 9th decade. Such an able mind and spirit, curtailed by the unfortunate degeneration of his eyes, which have fallen under the dense fog of cataracts. It is late winter in Geneva. The harsh wind chills me to the bone as I disembark from my carriage. On days such as this, with hardly a ray of light permeating from the thicket of clouds, I find my own waning vision, straining to make sense of a gray and lifeless scene. I have come today to the estate of Charles Lelin, per his request to discuss a matter most intriguing.
Ah, Charles, thank you for coming.
Hello, grandfather.
Thank you for honoring my request. I'm afraid I had no one else to turn to with such a sensitive issue. So I do hope you'll excuse the brevity of my request. I have to dictate most of my letters now as my vision has failed to such a point. And with such sensitive issues, I wouldn't let my scribe let his curiosity get the better of him. But please, sit. We have much to discuss.
Thank you, grandfather. But I must ask, if you are experiencing a certain malaise, as you call it, would it be not in your best interest to contact your physician? Surely he would be able to offer you some remedy. Being untrained as a physician, I am afraid I cannot offer much beyond the skill of observation I have cultured as a naturalist.
But this is precisely what I require. I do not need some physician poking and prodding his way around this forsaken frame of mine. He would merely diagnose me with all the infirmities I am starkly aware of on my own. No, Charles, my ailment is best suited to be explored by your inquisitive and metaphysically inclined mind. Am I accurate in the knowledge that you have switched your focus to the metaphysical?
Well, yes, that is true. While I hold a deep passion for my work in biology, my vision does not permit the continual use of my microscopy that is vital to my area of research. So yes, I have shifted from the metaphysical. Why do you inquire such?
For it is manifestations of a metaphysical nature that require your attention. Are you willing to withhold your judgments of my faculties until I fully explain myself and these visions that have started occurring?
Grandfather, visions? Am I to believe that we are witnessing such things common to the demented man without an accompanying decline in your faculties?
Did I not just ask you to withhold your judgment? I had hardly let those words pass my lips before you declared me deranged.
Forgive me, grandfather. It's just that, well, the others that claim to experience these visions are institutionalized because they have become deranged. What else am I to make sense of your claim to visions?
Firstly, I believe that should be evident by my request to have you see me. What demented man would expedite his own institutionalization by confessing his symptoms to an agency that could have him interned? Secondly, you have not yet to even hear my account of these visions.
Valid assertions, grandfather. Please recount your occurrences with these visions.
Very well. It began not too long ago. As you know, in the past few years, both my eyes have been operated on. The light has completely gone from the left, but some residual still remains in the right, though not enough for me to read or write. Just as I was settling into this disability, it's as if my eyes began to come alive again.
Come to life, grandfather? And how is that?
Well, it started with something resembling a blue handkerchief. It would float into my field of vision, and it possessed small yellow circles about the size of a fives ball in each corner. It floated around the room and followed my eyes wherever they went, obscuring things within my chambers. Of course, I knew that no such handkerchief could have existed, suspended indefinitely in the air as it was. It was a fleeting vision, though, easily extinguished by my concerted blinking.
Well, yes, that does seem strange, but you seem to be very aware that it was a vision. As it is easily extinguished from your field of view, I see no cause for alarm.
Well, I have yet to describe the depth of these visions. The handkerchief was the first of many that only scratched the surface. You see, your cousins came to visit me recently. I was sitting in my armchair across from the mantelpiece when a servant let them in. The girls entered to my right, and as they did, two young gentlemen, both in fabulous coats, one of red, one of gray, entered to my left. They each had ornate hats trimmed with silver. I remarked to the young ladies what handsome gentlemen they had brought with them. A little bewildered, they swore that they had brought no one with them, at which point the gentlemen vanished.
They just vanished? But grandfather, did they speak to you or engage with you in any sort of way?
No, they appeared and disappeared without so much as a word or glance in my direction. The weeks since have seen even more of these visitors. Curiously, though, they have all been women, beautifully coiffed, and some of them even had a sort of small box on their heads. One day in particular, I remember my servant had just come back from an errand, and he was followed by two tall, portly women. They were so tall they almost reached the ceiling. When I had asked them who had followed him in, he insisted that no one had. And the women simply turned away and walked away without a word.
So more times than not, you are alone when you experience these visions?
Exactly. More often than not, it is towards dusk that the images appear. I have witnessed a carriage pull up to the neighbor's house and proceed to grow to the height of 30 feet. All things perfectly in proportion. So it is not always people in these visions, but they tend to be the commonality in all this. On one particularly salient occasion, 4 girls, about the age of 12, walked into my room. One of them had a child about the age of 3 by the hand. Each were dressed in delicate attire with pearl necklaces and pearl-shaped diamond earrings. They all seemed to be chatting together, but I could not hear a word of it, if they were. Then the most astonishing thing happened. One turned to me and gave me the most beautiful white smile, filled with perfect teeth.
So grandfather, if I'm understanding you correctly, this vision seemed to engage you, unlike the others.
It would appear so, although I did not have a chance to ask them.
So you have never tried to engage in any of these visions yourself?
Of course not. I know them to just be figments. As much as I would like to ask them why they haunt me so, I knew doing so would yield no result. I have begun to experiment and record my observations.
And what have you found?
Well, firstly, the visions appear to have a size subjective to the scenery they are imposed on. I have found this by utilizing the recurrence of the handkerchief. About 100 paces from the house lies a small fountain. When the handkerchief is imposed upon the small fountain, it is about the size of a large tablecloth. However, if the same handkerchief is imposed on the table where I take my meals, it is no larger than a thumbnail. Also, these images are all silent. Even the ones that appear engaged in conversations, as the young girls did, remain silent. I have seen no men since the encounter with your cousins, and also, just as strangely, I see no women when I walk the streets. All these individuals who do appear to me appear to my left and pass behind me before disappearing. However, the images still manifest when I close an eye or when I obscure my vision completely with a handkerchief.
Curious indeed, grandfather. The subjectivity of size, the selectivity of the context for the sex being women, and the universal silence of them all. Such fantastic observations, grandfather.
Would you believe that's not the most fantastical aspect to me? I have even seen a vision of myself.
A vision of yourself? Surely not, grandfather. It must have been a reflection of some sort.
No. One morning, I was smoking near the window, and I saw a man casually leaning against the window to my left doing the same. Except for the fact that he was a head taller, I am certain that I was looking at myself. He was even wearing the same cap and dressing gown. He appeared again the next morning and gradually became a familiar apparition. So what can you derive from these counts? Charles? Charles, are you listening?
Charles? Dr. Charles? Are you listening to me? I've been having these hallucinations and they referred me to you. They think I'm insane. I don't think I am, but what do you think?
I'm sorry, my mind was elsewhere, but I don't think you're insane. I think that the medical staff is misreading your behavior. I think what you have is a syndrome called Charles Bonnet syndrome, but believe me, you're not crazy. Charles Bonnet syndrome is a condition that causes patients with visual loss to have complex visual hallucinations. Most patients do not reveal their visual hallucinations to their physicians, as many fear they will be diagnosed with dementia or psychosis. This syndrome is therefore more common than one might believe. In a study by Tenise et al., a population of 600 elderly patients were surveyed. Approximately 15% had complex hallucinations, such as those described by Grandfather Llewellyn. Approximately 80% had simple hallucinations. Commonly reported hallucinations include hallucinations of faces. These faces are rarely familiar and are distorted by exaggerated features such as exaggerated teeth, nose, and eyes. Research has found that there is activation in the fusiform face area during facial hallucinations, and activation in the superior temporal sulcus when these facial hallucinations are accompanied by exaggerated features. Other common hallucinations include letters, musical notes, numerals, and math symbols. Hallucinations can be triggered by environmental factors such as stress, anxiety, and physical and emotional trauma. It is now known that Charles Bonnet syndrome is no longer limited to damage to the eyes. Charles Bonnet syndrome can be correlated with insult to visual cortex and its projections into temporal and parietal lobes. This syndrome offers a mystical glimpse into the inner workings of the human visual cortex, a structure capable of not only perceiving but creating a rich visual world.